Welcome to another episode of Erik Wait Whiskey Studies, and in this series I'm sharing my visit to Texas distilleries. I visited Texas distilleries twice in 2019. I was there in April and then again in September. I did a whole month of Texas whiskeys in May 2019. You can check out my series of reviews of Texas distilleries by going over here or at the link at the end of this video. In September, I was in Texas for an entire week, visited distilleries primarily on the weekend near San Antonio, Texas, and Austin, Texas. So in my last video, I shared my visit to Alamo Distillery, and on the same day, I went over to Maverick Distillery. Now, Maverick Distillery is in an old building. It looks like a bank. In fact, it was a bank. And when I visited the distillery, walk in the front door, and immediately to the left is a nice lady who welcomes you there. And there's sort of a long lobby with large glass windows, and you can see immediately into the production area, the stills and so forth, which I thought was really cool. So I want to take some photos to do this video. So I used my cell phone, put it up against the glass, and was taking photos, and some employees, walked by, checking out what I was doing. And then one walked by and said, "Are you Erik Wait?" And I was kind of surprised. And I said, "Yeah." So it turned out to be Rick, the head distiller. I guess he either heard I was in town or he'd perhaps seen my previous videos on Texas whiskey. Said, "Hey, would you like to do a tour?" So I was like, that would be awesome. So we did a tour of the distillery and then tasted some of their spirits. Here you go. At the end of the tour, tasted three spirits. The first was the Samuel Maverick Texas Dry Gin, a traditional dry gin made with a Texas twist, made using locally grown rosemary, pecans, bay laurel, Mexican mint marigold, and fresh valley grapefruit zest, along with traditional gin botanicals like common juniper berries and coriander. It's bottled at 45% alcohol by volume or 90 proof. I then tasted a Maverick Distillery light whiskey. This is distilled from Texas-grown hard red winter wheat. It's aged 1 day in used oak. It's bottled at 46% alcohol by volume or 92 proof. And then I tasted the Alamo whiskey, which I'll be reviewing in this video, which is a grain-forward whiskey distilled from the Maverick family mash bill. It's aged 1 day in used oak, also bottled at 46% alcohol by volume or 92 proof. Now, I don't hear too many people talking about white whiskey. It's not a real popular category. Some might even feel like it's sort of a cheat, right? You put it in 1 day and now you're allowed to call it a whiskey. Seems more like a new make to me, and I want to say for the most part, I kind of agree. But distilleries, when they're starting up and they're waiting for their whiskey to age, they got to come up with something else to sell. Sometimes they'll produce gin, vodka, or sometimes they just sell straight up new make. But in this case, they're making a white whiskey, which meets the legal definition because it's spent some time in oak. Tasted all three of the whiskeys. They say it's a family mash bill. This is the Alamo whiskey. They don't say what the mash bill is, but it's a mash bill for a bourbon, but you can't call it a bourbon because it hasn't been aged long enough. And I actually kind of like it, but you got to come to it with sort of a mindset as, okay, if you like it, what are you going to do with it? Is this going to be a sipper? Well, color-wise, check out the bottle. It has a very light green tinge to it. Reminds me of sort of like maybe a watered down Mountain Dew or a lime juice or something like that. By the way, you may notice the bottle has been signed by the head distiller, which I thought was cool. On the nose, I get lime, lemon, a little bit of jalapeno. It has some dusty character to it, like a chalky dust or like a fresh put up a drywall. It has some floral notes to it, definitely some spice, a little bit of white pepper. In some ways, it actually reminds me of a tequila. And that's exactly what went through my head when I tasted it at the distillery. So I thought, what this would be good for is making cocktails. But let's first taste it on its own. All right, on the palate. So because it hasn't spent a lot of time in oak, and yet it's only at 46% alcohol by volume, it has a bite. Oak not just imparts flavors of cinnamon and vanilla and caramel and those kind of notes, also through the aging process and exposure to oxygen and interacting with the wood, and the more you age it, it softens the sort of the bite of the alcohol. This still has that tingle there. It tasted blind. I might think it's at a higher ABV than 46%. It has a lot of complexity to it. There's a nice evolution. Then lemon, lime, a little bit of that jalapeno. So that's kind of the jalapeno spice to it. Some white pepper, some floral notes. And what lingers is something that very, very, very similar to tequila, and there's sort of a citrus pith to it as well, and a little bit of that chalkiness. Now, to really see how much it's like a tequila, let's get a couple tequilas. So I have two samples of tequila. This is a sample of a Patron Añejo, and if you look at the color of it, it actually kind of looks like the white whiskey, right? It has that light tinge of green to it. And then this one is the 1800 Tequila Reserva Silver. So this is a Blanco, which is like a clear white. On the nose, I'm smelling this just straight from the sample bottle. It doesn't smell as much like the white whiskey. But the silver tequila, a lot more like it. Lime, citrus, floral notes, a little bit of jalapeno. Actually, there's a little saltiness to it. Sort of standard, traditional tequila notes. But the real test is going to be making a margarita from this white whiskey.
Dude, the margarita is the king of mixed drinks, right?
Is it?
No.
Modern Road makes a spicy Texas margarita.
If you're in Texas and you're drinking and you're not drinking beer, what are you drinking?
It's got to be a margarita, right?
It's a margarita.
Yeah.
So this is my first time trying this. I have not tried a Texas light whiskey margarita before. So we're going to see how it goes. It may go well. It may not. It might come out a little bit meh. So I'm going a little bit lazy here. I'm not going to, go through all the steps of making my own margarita mix. I just bought a bottle. This is a Jose Cuervo, a classic margarita mix. Says just add tequila, of course. Percentages. I'm going to go 2 of these. and one of these. Now, on its own, because I don't have a ton of experience of interacting with light whiskeys, it's not a real popular category. If you go to a liquor store, it's not like they got a whole large section on white whiskeys or light whiskeys. So I don't know how to score it. I think it shows great potential as they continue to age their whiskey as to what it's going to be in terms of being a bourbon. Generally, I like it. Do I see myself sit around sipping it? No. Do I see myself making cocktails with it? Potentially. We'll start with this one. All right, I'm going to put one of the Texas whiskey. Now, the main thing about margarita mixes, they tend to be super, super, super sweet. They're kind of like, when I was a kid, we had Otter Pops, a lime Otter Pop. They tend to be super, super sweet. So if you ever taste it straight, it's like way too sweet. So you definitely want something to counterbalance that. You're going to want something with a bite, and that's what you're doing with tequila. So I want to stir it up a little bit. And then rather than using a margarita glass, I'm going to use a rocks glass. I put ice in it, and to keep with the margarita theme, I put some rock salt or margarita salt around the side. Actually, it's margarita salt, not rock salt. And we'll see how it goes. It smells like a margarita. Let's taste it. It's too sweet. I'm going to add some more whiskey. Stir it around a little bit. Let's try it again. I like it. Wow. I like it a lot. That's tasty. All right. So if I had to do this over again, which I will, definitely will, I'd probably go 50-50. 50% of the white whiskey and 50% of the margarita mix. Man, that is really, really tasty. So now what am I going to give it? How good? Wow. There's a very different follow through and finish that I really, 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 really like. I find difficult. It's grapefruit, and it's melon, and it's lime. There's still this chalky minerality to it, but I really, really like it. And I think the salt actually complements really, really, really well. So as a mixer, how do I like this? If I can score it as a mixer, in a whole nother category, I'm going to go 90 points. I'm going to go 90 points. So I really, really like it. So if you're ever in Alamo, I definitely recommend checking out the Maverick Distillery, and it's a brewery and a restaurant. I was on my way from San Antonio up to Austin and wanted to visit 3 distilleries before I went up to Austin. And so I didn't have time to have lunch or dinner there. But if I'm ever back in the neighborhood, I definitely want to stop there to have a meal as well. Really, really enjoyed it there. The people there were super hospitable. Really enjoyed the tour. Wow. If I don't know if they have these available at the restaurant. If I was to want to sell this to people coming in, I would recommend them visit the bar and have a Samuel Maverick Alamo Whiskey margarita. I think it would sell really, really, really well. Absolutely fantastic. All right. If you subscribe to this channel, I want to thank you very much. If you haven't yet subscribed, if you like watching my videos, I would greatly appreciate if you would subscribe. Give this video a thumbs up. Share it with your friends on Facebook, Twitter, and other social network channels. And even if you can't get your hands on a Samuel Maverick white whiskey or Alamo whiskey, but you see someone else producing a white whiskey, don't write it off. Think outside the box and think, how might I have this in another way and still enjoy it? And I think making a margarita or other kind of cocktails with it is definitely a really good option. All right, until next time, cheers. Hey, don't forget to subscribe and check out these other whiskey videos.